Tutuyorum. Welcome to your screen, your virtual cinema. My name is Pinar. Today I will be speaking with cenk Erturk about his film Noland. Hi Cenk, thank you for
Hi.
doing this. Thank you for doing this interview today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for screening my film on your screen. I'm good. I'm writing my next film.
Great. First of all, I would like to start with talking about the journey of the film. Could you please tell us about the film's journey? When did you start shaping up the idea, and how did it all eventually come to life?
Mhm. I was studying Master of Fine Arts in filmmaking at New York University Tisch School of Arts, and we had to write a second-year film, and it was 2013, and I wrote this film titled Noah Tree back that time, and I read it in the class, and my professor immediately said, like, you should make this a feature film. This is a beautiful story, so make your short film as the character study of this film. So I made a short film studying the characters, the father and son in the film. And then next year, Darren Aronofsky was teaching at NYU, and he picked 12 students to workshop their first feature films. So I was one of the lucky people. So we were like workshopping the scenes from the film at Darren's class, Darren Aronofsky's class, with real actors in front of real audience, and like he was analyzing and workshopping the script. So I think he became a fan of the story, and then he wanted to support me with like a recommendation support letter. So he wrote this letter, which really helped me to raise the budget and finance of the film. So we raised the budget of the film from some like private investors and some public funds from Europe and Turkey. And then I got accepted to Cannes Film Festival, Festival de Cannes writing residence. And I stayed in their residence for 6 months to finalize the script. And after I finalized the script, I was slowly approaching to Turkey from Los Angeles to New York, New York to Paris, Paris to Turkey. And I came to Turkey. And after a really nice pre-production, we did the film, the production, like in the fall, and then we had the film.
Great. The film has a wonderful cast with very important names such as Haluk Bilginer, Ali Atay, and Hande Doğandemir. How did they become a part of the cast, and did you always have these names in mind when you were writing the story?
I remember the first at the time I wrote the script in 2013 as a short film. I was even considering to help to work with Haluk Bilginer as the father. So from the very beginning, I was really like dreaming to work with him as the father. And then he was the first person actually approached when I have a presentable script. So we were in touch, and then then I had Ali's name in my mind, and then I started working with a casting director. Then like we agreed on some names, and Hande, like my first meeting with Hande was so nice. Like she really understood what I was trying to do with the film, and she was so open to like discuss and discover together. So like starting from Haluk Bilginer, an actor who is also well known in the United Kingdom, I think. Starting from him, like I was like reaching my dream names one by one, and then I really had a beautiful experience working with them. We Most of the work we did was before the film. Actually, we met a lot and we discussed about the characters a lot. And I remember like midnight calls from the actors, like asking me, you know what, Cenk, I'm curious about why I'm saying this. You know what, maybe this, I will say it like this. Maybe I should do this, do that. So it was really, for me, a teaching experience as a first-time filmmaker.
You mentioned Hande's name. Hande's character, Elif, has a very interesting part in the story. Even though she's not always present on the screen, she always manages to be there somehow, especially through Ömer and his regrets about the past. Can you please talk a little bit about her position in the story and what does her presence represent for the course of the story? Because it feels like she is the only one who is standing outside of this never-ending loop of constantly blaming others to find justification.
Mhm. Thank you for this beautiful question. From the very beginning, like I started writing this film, like I knew it was about two men, but this relation between these two people are so linked to their relations with the woman, like in their life. Ömer's mother, and also Elif, Ömer's wife. Ömer is the main character. I like when I was thinking for the film, when I was like developing the script, I really wanted to make a, a humble statement about the woman's position in the contemporary Turkish society. So just because of it, like I wanted to like start the film with an image of a woman and putting the woman in the right like middle of the film when she comes change the track of the story that changes the plot, let's say, for the sake of the talk. And then I wanted to finish the film with not with the image of a woman but with the voice of a woman. So I wanted to make this parentheses with the woman and make the strongest hit like in the middle with the woman, because like when I was like writing the first film, I was also thinking about the second film. So I know what I am like nowadays trying to do with my second film. It is happening to two women, for instance. So I really wanted to make this like humble statement about this, like how women are perceived in the contemporary Turkey. And like, for instance, that's why I also have these women characters, the main characters, the men are talking about, but we don't see them. So like I wanted to represent in a film dominated by the men's like presence, I wanted to also represent the different layers of woman position in contemporary Turkey. That's why Elif is so important for me. Like that's why I opened the film with her alone in the film, and then when she comes, she changes everything. And then actually the the main issue between the father and son is also mostly linked to their relations with the women in their life.
Just like you mentioned, it is a father and son story which holds so many regrets, hatred, but also love at the center. Even though they were estranged until that certain point of their lives, Ömer and Ibrahim are actually very similar to each other. It feels like they have this defense mechanism of blaming others to always end up as the nice guy. With these in mind, can you talk about the bond that they share and those similarities that they probably would never accept?
Exactly. Those similarities they would never accept. So like this is what happens like when we avoid things very strongly, we become them. So even if you dedicate yourself like not being as like not being a man like your father, you find yourself you are becoming one. That's why this hatred is dangerous. Like if it's not balanced and studied. So like victim making yourself a victim is an easy way out for like solving any problem. And I see these two men are doing the same mistake, and that's the most they are similar to each other. They are making a victim like they are making themselves a victim of things happened in their life. Like even Ibrahim, the father, is making a victim himself in his mind, that like he married young. In the depth of his mind, he's thinking, I married young, I didn't know life enough. Instead of taking the responsibility and instead of facing the effects and the result of the decisions he made. He's just avoiding them. And for me, Ömer is like doing the same. Actually, that was my question. Like from the very like beginning, if two person are making the same mistake, and if they are making themselves victim, how they would communicate and how they would solve problems. And I like the idea of the, how can I say it in English, how this way of living and thinking are making us unhelpable, let's say. We are making ourselves unhelpable, even if like Elif, who wants to help you a lot, is not able to help because of this way of thinking. And like I like that idea and the questions it would raise for these two characters. And then like it led me to this way of ending the film actually. Like what would this man learn if like actually that was my question. I don't want to say the end of the film, but what if your anger, a man that you don't even bear to sit right next to like each other, like you put him behind in your car, that like if you put you in the same room, like what would happen? A person that you keep blaming, what would happen? So that was my question actually. I'm not sure about the answers the film could produce, but I'm very sure about the questions I asked to my characters.
Also, as an audience, I feel like the tree symbolizes different things for every character almost. It symbolizes taking revenge from the past for Ibrahim because he apparently was forced to leave where he was born um, because of some arguments about the landed property. And for Ömer, it almost symbolizes finally moving on and living in the present time rather than the past. But more importantly, it symbolizes a twisted way of hope for the people who live in that certain area. From this aspect, what do you think about the role of the tree in the story and the desperate need of people for a small piece of hope?
Exactly. Like when I hear these kind of comments from like smart people like you, it makes me really excited because like we make films to like create communication, and like I see people are thinking about like what it means, and like I love when it happens actually. Of course, when I was writing, like I was placing the tree like in the middle, like is the central figure of this story. Even the title of the film in the very beginning, it was Noah Tree, and then I changed it. So like tree of course was important to me, but I kept hearing better interpretations than I was making for the tree. And so I love it. That's why I avoid saying like what it means for me. But I can tell you this. Like when I am writing, this is my first feature film, but I was writing for a very long time. Like after I like graduated from New York University, like I was working in the United States as a writer. So like I avoid, as Tarkovsky would say, like I avoid symbols. So when I write a tree, like I'm not writing a symbol, but it becomes a symbol, of course. Like it's becoming more than I write. But I write this tree like as uh, something that the characters are related to somehow. And of course it means like different things for each other, as you just said, and as I loved a lot, like revenge. It means revenge for like mayor or the father, or like for the villagers it means hope. For Ömer it means maybe like future. It's lovely to hear, but for me it is just three, which is all related to those feelings. That's why I like the image of the tree actually. But when I can tell you this, like besides saying that, like I don't go for symbols. I don't really ask this question, what does this symbolize for me? But of course I know that's the strength of cinema. Like the image itself is becoming like deeper and wider than itself. That's the beauty of cinema. That's why it is enriching. But when I was writing, I was just asking this question in the beginning, like, what would be the like most difficult tree to cut down? I asked this question to myself. What tree, like if I, like, let's say, like I want to create a tree that nobody can approach and cut. So what did, what would be the nature of the tree? I was asking myself. Then this question get bigger and bigger, because to be honest, this story was inspired by my walk that I did, that I had with my father in his hometown, like village. We were walking by, and in the distance a tree fell, and like we just, and it was like an amazing like moment for me, because like you are just walking to have a peaceful walk, and this tree in the distance is like falling, and it's like 30 or 40 years old tree. Then we approach, we try to understand like what happened, did somebody cut, but we didn't hear anyone like working around the tree. So then we approach and we talk with my father. I asked Dad, like, isn't it easy? Like this tree just fell. Like it should be hard, you know? Like it's a tree. It's like it has roots. It has to grab the land. But my dad said, "Yeah, son, we never know." But we kept walking. But my mind was like stuck with the tree. Then my father said this. Actually, maybe that was the sentence that I really wanted to make a film around the tree. He said, "Son, we never know." By the way, in Turkish we say "son" a lot. I know in English you guys don't speak that way. But my father said, "Son, we never know, and we will never know what that tree has been dealing with, and what that tree was fighting against. You know, we never know this. Maybe like there was something like which is eating the roots of it. We will never know. Like maybe it's scientists, if they come, they will see it, but we will know." So it was not easy. Like that was not easy. That the tree was fighting. So this talk that I made with my father, like stayed with me, and I said, okay, I want a tree in a film that I'm supposed to write for like this class at NYU, New York University, and this tree should be so tough to break, to approach. It should be uncuttable. Then these questions become bigger and bigger, and it became a tree which means revenge for someone, which means like future for someone, which means roots for someone, and which means hope for some people. And I'm happy that it turned out to be that kind of a tree.
And every character seems like they are actually dealing with a lot of things inside, even though they look like they are dealing with Ibrahim's last wish at the moment. The story reveals very little about the things they are building up inside. Is this a deliberate choice done by the story? And how do you think this almost passive aggressive attitude of the characters affect their authenticity? Because I think they were all very real.
Sorry, I couldn't get the film deals with like very little with what? I missed that part.
Um, it feels like the characters are building up things, have been building up things inside, but the film reveals very little of those things, those specific things from the past. Um, so I think this makes the characters feel very real. And I was asking if this is a deliberate choice done by the story, and how do you think this almost passive aggressive attitude of the characters affect their authenticity?
Mm-hmm. Actually, like when I'm like writing a story, I'm not writing a story. Actually, I'm not writing a plot. I just ask questions about, like as I just said, like about the tree, about the characters, and then like when I ask those like questions to those characters, um, mostly I'm not able to find answers. I'm able to find more questions. So like these characters, like we when we meet like a new person, we come to the table with like some things we carry, like just because we are part of this family, just because we are part of this city, just because we are part of this country. So but mostly it takes a lot to understand the other person, why like he's doing things that way. So like when I'm writing, instead of pointing like a certain answer why he's doing this that way, because I believe that's how I am, or how people are, because there is never like a certain answer or a specific answer why we do things. There are so many. I like creating this delicate ambiguity. So like the so it is more relatable actually, like for from a very like a writer's side, it's more relatable when you are not pointing one thing for like why they are doing things. Like you, of course you are having your answers, like a couple of explanations, possible explanations. This is making real in the first place for me, and then of course it's becoming more real for the people. But when I am writing, of course, like I am trying to find these like possible explanations for why they are doing, but not one answer. So when I'm talking to my actors, for instance, like first I'm asking them, like, please tell me why Elif is coming to the village in the middle of the film instead of just calling. You know, can you please tell me? So I hear, and then I see, okay, she is also Hande, who is acting Elif. Hande is also seeing my possible explanations in like my mind. So I like that I am able to test in the first place with the actors. So like the passive aggressiveness they are building, like I think that is like a very common like let's say disease that we like we many people suffer. We suffer a lot, and that kills the communication. That kills the healthy communication. Instead of explaining why we are angry, instead of uh, like making our like scars and like traumas visible by talking about them, like pulling them into the symbols world in which we constructed words, we just like press them, and then we create this aggressiveness, as Ömer like is creating like in the film, like very generally by cursing a lot, for instance, like too much actually. So yeah, like it is like I'm not, I know communication as love itself is an art, and it's something you should constantly learn and improve. It's like when an artist is trying to be a master of his craft or her craft, like she should keep working for it. And love and communication and relations are something like that, as from the Frankfurt School would say, like you should keep like working for a healthier communication, healthier relationship, healthier like love. So I think the life is making us so busy with like being successful, having a proper job, and then we ignore or overlook this part of like regulating and balancing our like relations, and then it creates this complications like passive aggressiveness or like depression or like some other things.
The story is also very real, especially for Turkey, I think. It almost feels like you had a chance to observe similar people or similar stories as a writer. What attracted your interest to that certain city? Did you have a chance to spend time over there before?
Another beautiful question. So when I was like developing the script, uh, like I started researching and I realized there is a tree. The tree in my film is a fictional tree. There is no tree like that, but there is a funny story about it. After we shot the film, like the local people heard about like we shot a film there, and then famous people like celebrities are there, so it started coming the tree after we finished the post-production. And after the film is released, we are still in touch with the village mayor. Like he's saying like people are visiting this tree as it is happening in the film. But when I was researching, I found another tree which has a very similar story to the Noah tree in our film. It's called Moses tree, I think, and it's in the south of Turkey. So, but when I was like researching for the film, I didn't go to the city that we shot the film. I went to the like my father's hometown to like spend time with people and to see how they like speak, how they deal with their daily life, and how it is so important. The property, like owning a land is so important. You know, there is this like very wide land in the behind of that mountain, and they never go, but they are fighting about that land just because the other person's cows and oxes and the sheep just walk through. But it's a land nobody goes, and there is no farming there. So like I observed these things, and then I found my the village we shot the film in a different city, because there were certain requirements the film needed, like logistical requirements, or like the, the location of the tree, like the hill and its distance to the village. So I only found it after a very long location scouting in another city of Turkey. But yes, I spent time and I recorded dialogues, and I learned a lot when I was researching with the people.
At some point in the story, Elif realizes that Ömer is finally reading Dostoevsky's The
Yeah.
Idiot. How does the book serve the story of the film, or is there any correlation between the film and the book at all?
So I even now writing my second film, I think before making my next film, every time I will read The Idiot by Dostoevsky again and again. But how the book is related, there is one sentence Elif is saying to Ömer when they are talking, having this big dialogue scene. Like that sentence is coming from the book, but it's only one sentence. But the real correlation is in The Idiot by Dostoevsky. There is a love story, and there is this obsessed lover, who's called Rogozhin, who is in love with Nastasia, and Nastasia asks him to read a book. So like she believes like if he reads, he's gonna be like a better person. So I just because I'm in love with Dostoevsky's writing, I wanted to just include it in my film, and I saw it. It's like a nice thing, like a nice little thing between a couple, you know, like the one wants the other person to read this book, but the other can never find time or never like believes that she can or he can learn from the other person, so like resist to read it. So that is what I took from Dostoevsky's book, and that one little sentence Elif is saying. And besides that, like how Ömer lies about like he finished the book.
Personally, the film really forced me to think about some concepts such as obsession, the way of justifying certain behaviors, and constantly blaming others. As a writer and a director, in which ways would you like the story to push or to affect its audience?
Mm-hmm. Actually, like I love these questions. This
Thank you.
like the yes, for instance, like obsession was one of the word in my mind when I was improving, like when I was developing, but also justification of what we do, because whatever we do like in our daily little lives, like even if we know like we are doing something wrong, we have a certain kind of justification, you know, like any, like even if it is a little mistake that we are aware of it, or a big mistake that we are like aware of it in the depth of our existence, that it's wrong, we have this kind of justification. If we can't have those things, like we would like we wouldn't keep the sanity, like it wouldn't be easy to like be sane, because you know, like when you are making this business and making this a lot of profit, you are stealing it from someone, or like this is an imbalance, like inequality of like profit, income, something. You have to have this certain kind of like explanation for yourself. When you are stealing from like this, you have to be able to say, I'm stealing for the poor, or like something else. So this justification is a mechanism like we use a lot during our lives, like during our days, especially if you are a person, you keep announcing yourself as victims. Otherwise, we would lose the sanity. So, like, I'm happy that like this film gives you those words. But besides those, of course, like when we are making film, like instead of pulling our like we are asking questions, and I also like try to ask these questions about obsession, like justification, making ourselves victims, like our tendency to go for the edges, like not like trying to balance things we are doing. So if you ask me, just because you ask me, I'm answering. Like when this film ends, like for instance, I would really like my audience is asking this question: what are those things in my life that I have a tendency for, like for the edge, for the extreme, and why am I doing it? Why am I like choosing to hate that person? And how am I justifying myself? For instance, when I don't like Trump, what is my very first reason? And I have the perfect right to hate the Trump, for instance, like I mean the former president of the United States. So like I would like mm, to raise this question of like, why do we, as in the film, like why do we love, why do we have to love or hate? Like isn't it possible to somewhere in between? So I would like the question to stay with the audience. Yes.
Nomadland was your first feature film, as you have mentioned before. Did everything turn out in the same way with your vision for the film? Is there anything about the film that you would change if you had the chance to go back in time?
So years ago, I made a short film, and when I started editing it, it took longer. And then in 3 months, my expectations from the art of cinema have changed. So I stopped editing that film. So because I realized I didn't shoot it as I liked. But for like before making the Noah Land, I really worked a lot, and like I was trying to learn a lot. I'm still learning a lot, but I came to a certain level that I was sure about at least my expectations about the cinema. For now, for instance, I know what kind of films I love, like what I expect from like a film or from a like piece of art. So in that sense, I was also very lucky. Like I was the only person who is making his first feature film in this film. I worked like with really like experienced people. For instance, my sound designer was the sound designer of Yorgos Theoangelopoulos, like this Greek director I love a lot. So like, and also I worked with this editor who is the editor of Yorgos Lanthimos, the director of The Dogtooth, The Lobster, or The Favorite. So, and my cinematographer was also my like dream choice, friend from school, like from former years. So like I was lucky enough to convince really good people to be a team with me. So like I know films are very vulnerable to make mistakes, and as Haneke says in his book, like Haneke is talking about Haneke, he's saying like we keep making mistakes during the film, and we correct them during the post-production. We keep making mistakes during writing, and we keep correcting them. So it's all about like making mistakes and correcting, making mistakes and correcting. But there is a moment that you say, okay, this is the end of the process. So like it was full of these things, but I know I was lucky enough. I worked with really good people, and we did our best not to make like mistakes that cannot be fixed later. So when the film is over, when we lock the picture and when we release the film to the world, I was so proud of it. There is nothing that like I can say now that I would change, like go and change, because this film is a product of like so many hours of like brainstorming with like really experienced editors and producers and like these artists. So I'm so happy with the end result. But of course, for the future, like there are things that I learned about writing. I'm still learning, and I keep watching films, and I see films, and I'm learning. It's a constant evolution. This journey of filmmaking. So maybe I will do things like different in my next film or next film and next film. But I don't know now. But I'm still like watching. Unfortunately, when my friends come, we are watching the film again with them, and I have to sit like this because I watched it already 1,000 times. But I like it. I like what I see. Like I like how all like team who's making this film, actors, like cinematographer was so passionate, so that we all did our best to have this film as we wanted. So I think I was like really because Krzysztof Kieslowski says, if a film satisfies a director 80%, it's a perfect film for the director, not for the world, but for the director. So I can say my film satisfies me 79.9%. So it was almost like perfect, because at some point we had to stop. So in that sense, yes, 79.9% I was satisfied with the film.
Great. Before we end this conversation, can you talk about the projects that you are working on right now?
Like I'm working on a film, my next film that I've been writing last couple of years, and that I'm almost finalizing nowadays. It is about two women who get together after an unexpected situation, and then things happen between them. And then I'm also adapting a novel that I love passionately to a mini limited TV series. So constantly I'm working for my next film that I'm planning to shoot in 2 years, and then a TV show that also I'm planning to shoot in 2 years, like a novel adaptation, a limited TV show, and a film I'm writing, and also my third film that another two people's story. Yes, like these are what I'm working. I wish I could say more, but when it is more presentable, I will say more at some point.
Sounds like a lot. Well, thank you very much for this conversation. It was a pleasure. Thank you.